Welcome to partialarc.com. Don't do that.
In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. And a lot of weird shit. Roll to seize!
Welcome to Roll to Seize. This is episode 21. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and I'm joined by my co-host and Warhammer enthusiast, Andrew Dickinger.
Hello.
Hello, Andrew.
Are we really at 21 episodes?
We are at 21 episodes. Our podcast
crap.
can consume alcohol in the United States, and it's been doing it forever abroad. So, congrats, podcast.
Good job.
Yeah, actually, in fact, this is a question I'd love to throw out to the audience. We're actually dabbling with the idea of expanding some more options for the show, and let us know if you'd actually like to hear us more than once a month. So
that would be excellent.
Yeah, shoot us an email or ping us on dakadaka.com, guys.
Absolutely.
Now, in new rules and new model news, guys, there's some cool stuff with gene stealers that are coming out that Andrew is just very excited about.
Gene stealer cult's actually a thing. And now they're not technically gene stealers.
Oh, okay. That's true.
There are some real gene stealers in there, but they're half human, half gene stealer. Let's be clear.
That's right. Now, if we broke down the name Gene Stealer, they do steal genes, I believe.
Oh, they...
Mostly Levi's, but sometimes they dabble in like True Religion.
Dungarees,
but mostly Levi's.
No, they just
gene.
just Jinkos. Just Jinko jeans.
Just Jinko jeans. They're like, where are the gene stealers? Oh, those guys in those giant pants. Get them. Why did we do this?
But yeah, the gene stealer cult actually being an army and actually having some pretty baller rules.
That 12-man unit that's fearless.
The
and
7-point guys.
They're like, it's so funny because they're not even like, each guy's like 7.3 points or something like that.
1 point more than an orc, except that they have 4 attacks on the charge at I4.
Fearless,
assault grenades,
and rending.
With weapon skill 4.
And strength 4.
Yeah.
It's insane.
They're so good.
For 85 points.
And then they got a formation, which I remember specifically mentioning this.
We joked about this, and I think we actually joked about this over like text message. You were like, oh man, it'd be so great, if they could infiltrate and assault turn 1. And then I think even one of us was like, yeah, they could infiltrate like right next to him, ha 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 ha. And
they got it.
They got exactly that. If you don't know about this, in the Gene Stealer formation, everybody can infiltrate. If they're in the, I think
the whole army
group, the whole army can infiltrate, and some of them, I believe it's the Papa Gene Stealer,
him and
the regular Gene Stealer,
the 2 Gene Stealers he can join.
Yeah, they can infiltrate 1 inch away from the enemy, from the opponent, and then they can charge.
Well, no, the entire formation
can charge turn 1 even after infiltrating.
I think we're going to see a surge of Inquisitors with Servo Skulls coming back.
Yeah, Inquisitors and Servo Skulls, guys, really need them.
Because, man, if you get first turn against that... And now, I have heard mention in the tournament scene, they're like, oh, but they're not that powerful. I think it's like... way too early to be saying that.
Here's the thing, and sometimes it varies based on your tournament scene and where you play, like if you play with your buddies or if you play, at local tournaments, and the terrain isn't very, if there's a lot of line of sight blocking terrain, yes.
If there's line of sight blocking terrain.
But if there is like most competitive tournaments, each table you're going to find a lot of line of sight blocking terrain.
At least 1 or 2 good blocks.
Especially in different table quarters, like you're going to get some of those units within 12 inches.
Oh, man.
Again, we're not considering the 1 inch guys, because obviously they're going to be like
they're there.
But the other guys that are within 12, you're going to have a really good chance to get a lot of those guys within assault.
Yeah, with the new rules, the 7th edition rules, that if you had infiltrators, even if the enemy is 1 inch away, for whatever reason, your guys couldn't attack them because they were like exhausted or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, moving through shadows it's so stressful. I mean, ask Batman. He does it all the time.
Exactly.
That guy is so jacked because he's so worn out all the time, guys.
Yeah,
it's a heavy workout slipping through darkness.
And it's just weird because in 7th edition, you can't choose not to infiltrate. Infiltrators must infiltrate.
So weird to me.
Which is very strange.
So I think there's just some really exciting stuff. I mean, Wolfen got a lot of cool stuff too, where their entire army basically just runs across the board and assaults you in the first turn. Demons got a new Decurion. So like right now, it's so fun to see kind of this renaissance of like small supplements. And sure, it might be like, I gotta spend like $40 for another supplement or something like that. But it's like, come on, we spend a lot of money on this game already, and it's cool to just see this new fluff and more focus on some of these unknown or more fan favorite units.
Well, yeah, and that's my favorite thing about the Cult, is that the Cult was basically like a fan thing. Now, it had official models, but it basically hasn't had new official models in over 15 years.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just the idea of it, as a fluff thing, it's awesome. But then this as a prelude to what Nids might be getting is amazing.
Oh yeah, I think we can all agree that we would all like to see Tyranids get a little bit of a buff, so it's not Codex Flyrant.
No longer Codex Flyrant.
That it is right now.
Very happy.
So, which is, I mean, the more stuff that comes out and makes more armies, more usable outside of one specific formation, like Codex Flyrant, it just increases the fun and excitement of the community and what you can do with the game. So that's what we're always for.
And just what to expect.
Because,
man, going against the Nid army and seeing it not be Codex Flyrant
would be so fun.
Is super exciting.
Yeah, I'd love to see a bunch of Carnifexes come back if they were super useful.
Carnifexes be played again. I mean, honestly, just like 90% of the Codex is unplayed.
Right.
And it's just very sad.
Hey, we did a whole segment on Burninators on those little, what are those guys called again?
Oh, the Pyrovores.
Yeah, we did a whole segment on Pyrovores.
Yeah.
That's so nuts. Wow. All right, guys. Well, that's some of the newer news in 40K, and now we're going to get into the show. So as we start each of our shows, we begin with our Seasons of the Month, where Andrew and I must share our biggest failures and screw-ups from our last Warhammer tournament.
There are many.
So, Andrew, you're first this time, my friend.
God damn it. So the last tournament was kind of a mixed bag. It was sounding like it was going to be more laid back, and then it was like mentioned that actually it could have been a 2-day thing. And
yeah, we were confused when we got there.
Yeah, it was like only like 20 people were going to show up, and then there were almost 40.
Yeah.
And even the guys that drove, like the frontline guys that drove like 2.5 hours to get there, and we're like, holy shit, this is going to be bad.
It was a lot bigger than we thought it was going to be. Wow.
And I brought a total joke list.
You did, because we were like, this is just going to be fun.
And I mean, more just because like I'm not going to have my towel ready, my competitive towel ready for a while. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take my time with them. So I would just brought my silly AdMech list, which is just a Sicarian Killclade and a Cohort Cybernetica. Quick explanation of what the things are. Cohort is essentially just a giant unit of, in my case, 6 Castellan robots.
Yep.
Which are toughness 7, 3 wounds, feel no pain, invul saves, just incredibly difficult to kill.
Per guy. And there's 6 of them.
And there's 6 of them.
It's like a unit of monstrous creatures, basically.
And they are monstrous creatures.
But they can be in a unit for
But they're
reason.
a unit. And then there's 3, in my unit, there's 3 Data Smiths, which are T4, 2+ saves, 2 wounds each, 5+, feel no pain, so they're hard to kill.
Yep.
And then there's also my Warlord that's a part of that unit, who's 3 wounds, 2+, blah, blah, blah. Like, the unit is...
You just don't shoot at that unit. Don't shoot at it.
Just don't shoot it. Well, the best part is that Castellans have one of my favorite rules, which is repulsor fields, which is if they make any save,
mm-hmm.
Whether it's cover or invul or a regular armor save on a 6,
it just boing.
It reflects the shot back onto the shooter,
which is so funny.
And the best part is you gain no benefits of cover unless you're in it, which means vehicles never get cover from it.
It's so good.
I may or may not have reflected a last cannon shot back onto a Sakaran battle tank in the last tournament, which was hilarious.
Oh, poor Sakaran.
So I have that, and then I have a Killclade, which is a bunch of the spindly little robot guys, and now their biggest problem is they're T3, and so basically the majority weapon in the game bypasses all their toughness.
Which is 6.
Yeah, so it's sad, but it's very fun to use. This was the first time I'd actually used it in a tournament scene, but the first game I went against a Knights, and it ended very badly for the Knights because I have so much melee haywire, it's crazy.
Yeah.
The second game, though, man, it was kill points. I should have had this game in the bag. Because all I have to do is deploy the super unkillable thing on the board and just be like, have at it.
Now, Andrew, what did you in fact do?
I, in fact, decided to deploy, going second, all of my Sicarians that are little flimsy 5-man units on the front line.
Good. And you were going second. So if you had not deployed them, it would have taken him. He wouldn't have been able to shoot them at the earliest until turn 3.
Yeah.
But he shot them at earliest as turn 1.
I lost all of them by the end of turn 2.
Wow.
which gave him an auto 4 kill points, and then he just ran for me, which was the smart play.
Obviously.
Because he's like, well, he shot at my robot unit once, and was like, well, fuck that, and then just avoided them the rest of the game.
Yeah, I think wasn't he the one that had the last cannon fire back at his Sakari?
Yeah, he was the one that
was like, well, I'm not doing that again.
He was like, no, I don't want, wait, no, this is a terrible idea. Like, this is just bad for me. So he basically just conceded the center of the board to me and gave me King of the Hill and was just like, well, fuck that, and then just took everything else, and there was nothing I could do. So what was my C's of this month? Dumbass deployment.
Yeah.
Like, I should have just kept all the Sicarians off the board and just been like, robot unit, have fun.
Robot unit, you go and do what you do.
Little sub C's that I have, and this is something you've scolded me on multiple times. I am such a fucking coward with that robot unit, and I don't know why. It doesn't die to, like, anything, and I just put it in the back for some reason.
I need to, like, train a small parrot to just be like, send them forward, send them forward, send them forward, and just leave them on your shoulder.
Because I did it in the third game, too.
Yeah, I know.
put them in the back, and it took them 3 turns to get to the center of the field, and I'm just like, what am I doing?
God, you gotta throw them up there. They're more durable than a Wraith Knight, and not many things can say that.
No. Oh, well.
Think like a Lich Bomb. Just
go.
Just go forward.
Just go.
Jeez.
Anyway, so Jay, what's your C's?
Well, my C's, again, from this tournament. My last 2 games of the tournament were great. I had a really good time. I was playing my Ghost list, which is, again, the Ghost formation. I believe it's called the Wraith Host in the Eldar Codex.
Giving
which
those
is
bastards battle focus.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
It's my Wraith Lord, a Wraith Knight, and 3 units of Wraith Guard. One of them had D-sides. That was a new change that I made. Each of the Wraith Guard are in Wave Serpents, and I have my Buff Spirit Seer, and then I took the Pale Court to go along with them.
Which is dumb.
Look, Eldar players, we can all admit, the Pale Court is just so dumb. It lets you just do whatever, like, make whatever you want. Instead of like, oh, you don't want troops in there? You don't want any tax? Take Pale Court. You can make all your troops Warp Spiders. Why not? And, oh, you don't want a Farseer as an HQ? Well, why not an Autarch? Or why not a Spirit Seer? Hell, make them whatever you want. We don't care.
And then, of course, what the Pale Court does for your army is Auto 6 battle focus.
Auto 6. So it gives all my ghosts, because they have battle focus from the Wraith Host formation.
They're all jump infantry
They're all jump infantry now. With D weapons. So, yeah, that Tau player and Necrons I played were not super psyched about that. But my first game I played, which, I mean, I lost the game. But I gotta say, there's a picture, I think there's a video actually up on it on the Instagram. It was so fun because I got to fight like 40 wolves.
40 Friend Region wolves.
40 of them. It's a new formation where you have 4 units of 10 wolves, and you can make them 1 super unit of 40.
Yeah, it's the choice, right? You either take them separate
or as one. Yeah, you can do either or. And I thought they were separate, and I was like, okay, I mean, I can kill like 40 units. But he's like, no, it's 1. And in this unit, it wasn't just 40 dumb wolves, because that's not that great.
No.
But what was included in this was a couple friends came along for the ride.
Yeah.
I believe it was Azrael, I think?
Yeah, I think it was Azrael
from Dark Angels.
From Dark Angels.
Sorry if I mispronounced his name. He's the one with the lion helm and the little buddy that follows him around with the helmet.
You can just, choose his trait.
He chooses whatever warlord trait he wants.
Hey, guess what? They all have Feel No Pain.
Yeah. Nice.
Nice. It is specific, though, that they only have Feel No Pain if they're within 3 inches of an objective, which means with 40 wolves, always within 3 inches.
Always. Yeah, because I think this one was actually, I think it was the Scouring was the first game. So that means there's 6 objectives across the board, and there's 40 wolves. I mean, like, they're going to be near it. It's just basically a moving tidal wave across the board of wolves. And basically this unit, this 40 wolves unit, who cares about the special characters and what melee weapons they had? It never mattered.
No.
These wolves had Furious Charge, so they hit at strength 5 if they charge. They've got 4 up invul and 5 up Feel No Pain.
Yeah, I think because it's Ezekiel that gives them a 4 up invul.
Yeah. And when they charge, there's a chaplain in there, they reroll to hit, and from somebody else, I forget why, they have Monster Hunter. Oh, God.
It's a wall.
It's just the hardest thing I've ever had to try to remove ever. And I hit it with a bunch of D-sides, and I killed like 16 of them. So anyways, my big C's of the month for this one, I have a Wraith Knight. And a Wraith Knight...
You do.
I do. And the Wraith Knight is kind of the perfect counter to this list.
Now, why would this be?
Well, because the Wraith Knight, Andrew, is T8. Fun fact about T8, you can't hurt it if you're strength 4. Now,
I think I see where you're going with this.
Now, wolves normally are only strength 4 guys. Even though there's 40 of them, guess what? They're just tickles when they're strength 4 to a T8 monster. Now, if you let those wolves charge you, though, they turn into strength 5 and then they eat a Wraith Knight, which is what happened in this game because I stupidly didn't think about that, and I was like, oh man, they can hurt me, strength 5. I didn't think about Furious Charge at all. I'm a moron. So what I was like, you know what, turn 1, I'm going to throw my Wraith Knight up there because he's going to get hit anyway. If I put him up far, he won't be able to multi-assault my entire army. If I put the Wraith Knight up there, it'll break them early because they can't get to everyone. He's basically like a first line of defense. That's a good idea, Jay, right? No. So I threw him up there. I got invisibility. I threw invisibility on him. I'm like, yeah, fist pump. I did it. It's going to be impossible to kill him in close combat now because it's going to be hard to hit him. Well, I also forgot that his list had a Calexis Assassin and a drop pod, and I forgot that drop pods come in turn 1 if you only have one of them. So it dropped in within 12 inches of my Wraith Knight and removed invisibility, so that plan was gone immediately. And then his wolves charged in at strength 5 and ate my Wraith Knight. In retrospect, if I had just waited for him to get close enough and I charged him, guess what? There's 40 puppies
they're there for the rest of the game.
They're just there forever. They're just tickling my Wraith Knight while he just slowly stomps on that unit forever. And that unit is done for the rest of the game. I mean, sure, he has 2 characters in there that could eventually get up there. And maybe, and I mean maybe, because my Wraith Knight is sword and board, so he's 5-up invul. He might be able to do some wounds.
With a 5-up feel no pain. And then you could also be casting more invisibility on him if you kill, like, the Calexis. Because, I mean, like, yeah. The bottom line is if you charged, I mean...
It would have been a completely different game.
It's a tar pit. They're there forever.
Yeah, so my Seize of the Month is I should have charged my Wraith Knight into combat instead of just letting him get charged by a billion wolves and just get murdered, which still, though, really funny to see that happen, but pretty dumb move on my part. So, guys, those were our Seizes of the Month, and that'll take us on to our main segment, the Brown Library. What have you been looking in these back sections of the Brown Library?
Well, I noticed this weird back section. It's kind of like all covered in mucus and shit.
Oh no, not the mucus section. What were you doing back there?
I mean, it's the mucus section.
Why is that appealing? Why were you like, oh, the mucus section?
I mean, come on. If it's
why do I not want to play around in this section?
It's like the 7 wonders of the webway. You gotta look. You gotta see it.
Can you all name the 7 wonders of the webway?
It's one of those things you can't experience until you're there.
Yeah, you know what, guys? If you ever walk into a room and it's filled with mucus, just go nuts.
I mean,
have fun.
Is this any worse than the dust clock, Jay? I mean, come on.
You know, why do you have to bring up the dust clock? Okay, I mean, like, I buried it, and that was that. Okay, we agreed not to talk about it anymore.
You said you can't bring up things with regards to mucus if it dust clock doesn't get mentioned as well.
We're gonna go back to couples therapy.
So we got a request from a fan on the forums.
Ooh, who was it?
His name is Tycho.
Hey, thanks, Tycho.
He even responded to me saying his wish is granted with "All hail the chaos god of architecture." Yes.
Oh, Gozer.
So the thing we're going to be talking about, this is the love-hate relationship with an army that I have.
Ooh, what is it?
An army is Tyranids.
You mean your love-hate relationship with Hive tyrants and how poorly you treat them?
You shut up. I may or may not have problems with flyrants. We don't need to talk about it.
We don't need to. He's in therapy for it.
But this time we're going to be talking about something a little different. Something we haven't talked about before, but depending on how the next codex goes, if the rumors are the same, could be getting a huge boon.
Is it going to be Pyrovores?
It is not Pyrovores.
No, it's not Pyrovores.
This is specifically...
I couldn't even get all the way through it.
Yeah, I was like, man, like that name, just like,
nope.
It's like anathema, just can't do it.
Nope.
But no, this is specifically of the warrior genus.
Oh.
But not warriors specifically. This is a subgroup.
Sub-warriors?
Now this is...
Rabble-rousers?
Now very much... Yes.
You guys didn't hear this, but that pause was a lot longer.
But yeah, so this is like flyrants. They do fly.
What? There's flying warriors?
The warriors with wings are called Shrikes.
Oh.
Now they're basically exactly the same as a warrior, except that they have wings. They're jump infantry.
Right.
And they have one less armor save. Their armor save is a 5+ instead of a 4+, which actually kind of really sucks because then bolters can cut through them.
Wait, so they're not flying, they're not like like swooping, they just have jump. They just move 12.
They just have jump. They just have they just have like a small pair of wings, and they can move 12
that's
inches
sad.
a turn. But the thing that's cool about them is that they're the same cost. And I mean, when even thinking of the current meta of not having tons of strength 8 anymore in there, they're 3 wounds apiece and they're fearless. So like that's still a wall to get through.
That is.
And when they can be in units of 9,
whoa,
which they can be,
that's a lot,
and may or may not be taken in that list.
3
that
wounds
way.
apiece. If I do math correctly, that's 27 basic bodies you have to get through.
27 bodies. Yet that's a horde.
Yeah.
Per unit you have to get through, and there may be 27 Shrikes in this list.
It's very surprising for Roll to Seize to do that.
But yeah, Shrikes are actually kind of interesting. Now, they are overcosted, especially with the current meta. Even being T4, weapon skill 5, which is great. BS 3, still not bad. Strength 4, Initiative 4, and be able to get access to Assault Grenade, which they do.
That's nice. Not a lot of Tyranids, unfortunately, can say that.
No. Now, unfortunately, it is 4 points a model to get it.
Oh.
But
tough.
And you can't take it on like one guy and then give it to all of them. Everybody has to take it.
Makes sense.
These guys, their base cost is 30.
Ooh.
Now that sounds like a medium of the road, but when you consider that their armor save is a 5+, I mean, it's kind of like
Yeah.
And then any of their upgrades that make them really good are like 15 points minimum per guy.
Expensive.
Like, they start to get costly real quick.
Yeah.
Now, where it's crazy with them, though, is that warriors are essentially the base genus of, like, all of Tyranids. Like, all Tyranids essentially stem from the warrior. The warrior is, like, the initial clone.
Weird.
And then everything is, like, it's like a warrior and then taken into this thing.
I did not know that. They're like patient 0 for Tyranids?
Essentially. So, like a Hive Tyrant is just, like, a super evolved warrior. And like then you have like genuses like Raveners. Raveners are essentially just snake versions of beast warriors.
So warriors are like the children of the Tyrannid race. Like, you can grow up to be anybody. You could be that big snake monster, or that flying thing, or that thing that shoots fire, the most noble of all of us. Pyrovore, the most noble Tyrannid.
Now, granted, once again, they take the aspects of races they consume and then add them to the swarm, but like you can count warriors, at least in the original fluff, as being like the closest thing to the original Tyrannid. Or at least the most common assault trooper. They're like core, they're Space Marines, essentially. They're core thing.
Man, I can't wait till Tyrannids get their own parking lot army. It's going to be great.
Oh, man.
They're going to just a bunch of warriors.
Except that they're all their tanks are all going to be like alive and like eating people and shit.
Their tanks eat people.
Well, I mean, they technically have spore pods.
They have spore pods,
Yeah,
which
they eat
move
people.
around after they come in.
They used to have things called like malefactors, which were like giant crab tanks. They could store guys inside.
Oh man, it'd be so awesome if we got crab tanks back.
Oh, that'd be the best.
Oh, GW, please.
But yeah, so warriors and Shrikes in the same vein are very cool because they essentially have all the options. Like you can kit them in any direction you want. You can make them a shooty unit. You can make them close combat unit. You can make them a mix.
Interesting. So they're like kind of like I know for me, for Eldar, the kind of the Swiss Army knife is the autarch.
Yes.
Because he's kind of like the king of the aspects, and you can kind of tool him out. So warriors are kind of the same way.
Well, they start as a very middle of the pack where they just stock. They have a 3-shot bolter.
Okay.
They have an AP5 close combat weapon, which who cares unless you're other Tyranids or Orcs.
Right.
But like the key thing is that with close combat is that they start with base 3 attacks. So like
That's great.
4 attacks on the charge at strength 4 with weapon skill 5 is darn good.
Yeah, yeah.
And then in addition to this, they can be kitted like any way you want. So like if you want to give them all strength 5 bolters, then you can do that.
Wow.
Or if you want to give them like a strength 4 large blast weapon, you can do that. If you want to give them a strength 6 small blast weapon, you can do that. Or if you want to give them stupidly good close combat weapons, you can do that as well.
Now, what are these stupidly good close combat weapons?
They all have access to rending claws, which
Nice.
automatically, I mean, just getting rending is awesome.
It's great.
And it's 5 points. I mean, like
And especially for a unit that's like you're just going to throw at stuff because they're fearless.
fearless and flying,
Yeah.
skyborn, so
Yeah,
you can
just
just
go.
Now, what's sad is that it's kind of just like a little nitpicky thing with a 5+ armor save, even though they have 3 wounds apiece. base. They don't have move through cover, so you will be taking dangerous terrain every time you land in cover, which with Tyranids doesn't really make sense. Oh well.
They don't have graceful landings.
Apparently, they're like the third stage Tremor, where they just like shoot fire out their ass and then
they
like
just land wherever they land.
But the really crazy weapon they can get access to is the Lash Whip and Bonesword. Now, what this does,
the coolest band name ever,
Lash Whip and Bonesword,
or a great duo. That should be the new duo in a Mighty Ducks film.
Wow.
I'm Lash Whip. I'm Bonesword.
Actually, yeah,
we're the new Bang Brothers. Yeah,
that's actually the new Bebop and Rocksteady. I'll take it.
Yeah, I meant Bash Brothers, but whatever. Bang Brothers is another thing. Don't look it up.
But yeah, so Lash Whip and Bonesword, what this does is it gives them initiative 7 in close combat, which is absurd to begin with.
That's nice. I mean, there's some Wraiths out there getting real jealous. They think their I5 is pretty cool. I7 is a lot better.
I mean, that's even striking before Harlequins, which
are
insanity.
Speed clowns.
Yeah.
They're just clowns that took way too much cocaine, and they're just going nuts.
They're just literally they just have an IV of just speed.
They are raving so hard it kills people. So to be faster than that is pretty cool.
But then it also gives them AP3, which look out.
Yeah.
And then on 6s, they're dealing instant death.
What?
So yeah.
Holy crap, that is a stupid close combat combo.
Now, granted, it's 20 points a model to give them that.
I mean, with 3 attacks base and with 4 attacks on the charge with that, I mean, I would consider that worth it.
They're 5 attacks on the charge.
Wait, why?
Now, here's why. Because they're not like the normal close combat and pistol or something like that, where if you have 2 close combat weapons, then you get the bonus. For them, their weapons come in pairs. So in order to get the bonus attack, you have to take 2 pairs. Well, fortunately, you can just exchange their shooty weapon with another melee weapon. So you can just give them the Scything Talons for free, and then exchange the core Scything Talons with the Lash Whip and Bonesword, and suddenly they're 4 attacks base. With 5 attacks on the charge, and initiative 7, with weapon skill 5, with AP3, with instant death, with assault grenades. Wow. So yeah, they
jump 12.
And they jump 12 inches.
So they'll be in your face by turn 2, no matter what.
Oh, it gets worse. You can also give them all Furious Charge and Fleet.
Wow.
Now, here's the thing with the Furious Charge and Fleet. It starts to make them really expensive.
I mean,
54 points just for the Lash Whip and Bonesword.
At a certain point, how many drugs can you put in that thing before it starts exploding?
And this was where the essentially the toys before boys, or boys before toys argument comes into play, where it's like, where is are you investing too many points into a singular thing before it becomes a detriment?
Right.
Because it's just like, well, if that thing dies, oh shit, that many points gone. But that's where like the uniqueness of the unit essentially comes into play, is that they have some upgrades that the entire unit must take, but the weapon upgrades are all per model.
That's cool. Okay, that's pretty great.
So then, like, you can just have, like, a unit of 9, but only, like, 3 of them have Lash Whip and Bonesword, because, honestly, do you really
need that
more
many?
than 15 attacks
no, you
at
don't.
AP3?
With instant death options?
With
no, I don't think you do.
At weapon skill 5 with initiative 7? Because I don't think you do.
You don't.
Unless you're fighting a Death Star with them. I mean, like, the standard Marine unit is gonna get destroyed by that.
I mean, you don't need that many.
No. So, like, the way that I kitted these guys out. So you have 3 units of 9.
Okay.
And then in the units, you have 3 that are like the creme de la creme. 3 have the Lash Whip and Bonesword. All of them have assault grenades. All of them have Fleet and Furious Charge, because it's an assault unit. You have to give them that.
They went to Tyranid Harvard. It's
did.
a very different Harvard than what we know. Still, they have a social network, though. Their
messier.
Facebook is real weird. Their Facebook story is different. Someone didn't steal stock from the other one. They just ate them. It's a lot more vicious.
It's also all telepathic or like goo, which is kind of just strange.
Tyranid Aaron Sorkin did a really good movie about it, though. So, I mean, definitely check it out when you get a chance, guys.
But so only 3 have Lash Whip and Bonesword, because that's really all that's necessary. And then the rest are essentially just like ways around things. You have 2 that are just stock. They just have double Scything Talons.
We're here to die.
Yeah, well, it's 6 a blade of wounds to get through.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
It's 6 Space Marines.
It's a lot.
Like, it's still a lot to get through.
They're just filled with Space Marines.
Yeah.
They just have 2 Space Marines tied to the front of them.
But I mean, there's still...
Well, Larry, we found ourselves in a weird predicament again, didn't we?
But it's ironic, because there's still no slouches in close combat. There's still... both of those guys are still dealing out 10 initiative 4, strength 4 attacks at weapon skill 5.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's still good.
That's good.
And
It'll
so
kill
it's like,
stuff, plenty of
whoa.
stuff.
So that's 2 of them. That's 5 of them total. We got 4 extra. The 4 extra are stock, except that we've exchanged they have scything talons like they all do, just because this is a close combat unit.
Yeah.
Pure close combat. Ironically, the grenades that you give them gives them a 6-inch shooting attack, so that's kind of fun.
That's pretty fun.
But
They're tickles from a distance. Yeah. I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you.
and it's strength 6. That ain't nothing.
Oh, really?
It's 2 strength 6 apiece.
What? That's such a weird upgrade.
What's kind of funny is that those guys, the 4 extra guys, they just have rending claws.
Okay.
Because at that point, it's like, what can they not deal with is vehicles. Mm-hmm. Suddenly, you give 4 guys rending claws, 20 attacks on the charge of weapon skill 5 that rend. Yeah, that's going to chew through a lot. That'll even kill knights.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, that is a threat to knights. Because as long as you get, say, even 2 to 3, maybe even 5 rends through, and suddenly knights are like, ah, shit. So yeah, so like this unit actually, like, there's 3 units stocked that way. Now, that's a lot of points.
I believe it would be.
It's like over 350 points per unit.
Wow.
Now, granted, it's 27 wounds per unit, and their jump, and they kill everything they touch in close combat.
Which is
pretty
not
much.
bad.
But we need a way to essentially distract your opponent from just wiping them out.
From what those things are?
Especially like mass strength 8 is just going to clear them.
Yeah.
And in a lot
There
of
isn't
respects,
too much mass strength 8, though.
Depends
I
on
mean,
what-
in mass, when I think mass, I'm thinking like, we've got mass grav, we've got mass 6 with like scatter lasers, but we don't have mass 8 too much. I mean, you'll see MSU Space Marine armies running melta-guns and every now and then, but like, that's not mass.
Yeah,
though.
and I mean, the game is rock, paper, scissors enough that if you go against an army that just has a shit ton of cracker missiles, I mean, it's just a bad luck.
Yeah,
of the
that's a
draw.
really weird. I guess if you went up against a bunch of tank busters, that would be a problem, but I mean, that's
Yeah.
probably the only mass 8 you're really going to see in big clumps.
Yeah, and I mean, like, if you have, like, a bunch of ignore cover large blasts that are 8 or above.
True.
But that's the thing as well, is that you can just spread out, and that's less of a problem.
Yeah.
But that also means that they're devoting that to that and not to the rest of your army. Now,
True.
granted, not a whole lot else can be fit in, but I was like, what is the perfect fix for this? Well, first of all, this is in a normal CAD. So the HQ we're taking is the stock cheapest HQ we can take. Not a slouch, but still, like, as cheap as we can go. So we just took a Warrior Prime.
All right.
And we took a Malanthrope and Elite to give them all shrouded.
Okay.
To begin with, at least.
Great. I mean, if you're going to get your guys there, dude, you got to take that Malanthrope is so good.
even one turn of just shrouded is just it's so huge,
Especially for a unit that can move 12. Yeah.
I mean, it's just like that one turn of potentially having 2+ cover saves and ruins is just, that's a big deal.
It's so good.
So then we can attach, ironically, our Warlord, our Prime, to the Malanthrope because he's an independent character.
Oh, great.
So we can have that little duo just scooting around.
Couple buddies running around
And I mean,
the field.
he's got a Lash Whip and bonesword, and he's strength 5, so like he's still killed shit that he touches. And then the troops, we just want to make as bare bones as possible. 2 Mucolid spores, 30 points total.
That's pretty bare bones.
Troops filled. And then
It's so funny that those can be troop choices.
it's just a 15.1 thing.
Behold my troops!
That's non-scoring,
These giant floating testicles.
Yeah, it's non-scoring, non-denial, and gives your opponent no kill points. So it's just literally just a thing that's there.
The guys are like, I gotta kill these dumb things. Fine.
And you can't like just ignore them because they do strength 8 AP3 explosions in
Yeah.
close combat. So yeah,
It's not bad.
But then we also took a void shield, which is actually really important for this army for 2 reasons. One, because you can do the string method, where essentially like you can have the void shield at the front and then string
As long
these
as
guys
one
out.
little guy is touching within that 12, you get that void shield protection.
But then as well, on top of that, you're also getting the one stringing out for the shrouded protection as well.
That's
so
true.
like super strings going on. But then I was like, we need really just one super thing to just really take all of the attention,
Confuse
all
and distract
of them.
people.
And I was like, well, we're going back to one of my favorites, Sky Tyrant formation.
Oh.
You stick a Sky Tyrant with 20 gargoyles in front, and then you have a choice.
Which blob do you deal with?
Which do you deal with? One of the murder, death, equal? They're all equal opportunity employer.
Yeah.
Warrior Shrike squads.
Tyranids are basically communists, right? That's in their fluff.
I thought that's a towel. They're communists, but
Let's not put that labeling on Tyranids, guys.
But yeah, you stick this Sky Tyrant in front, and he's doing the string out method as well.
Right.
And I mean, the fully decked out Sky Tyrant formation, like that a real good close combat Hive Tyrant is super scary.
Especially if he has 20 ablative wounds.
Yeah, and 20 ablative wounds are all fearless, and he's got a 4-up cover save always. Yep. And it's just like, yeah, that's whoa, no, I don't want anything to do with that.
Yeah, well, it's giving me like PTSD flashbacks to those 40 wolves.
Yeah, and that's one of the key things about this army that, like, once I kitted it, I realized, oh my god, not only does this army have no shits given about synapse, because...
Which is nice.
All of the Shrikes are synapse. Yeah. The entire army is synapse.
It's just a synapse bubble.
So you never have to worry about that ever.
Yeah.
But that also means the entire army's fearless. So it's literally kill everything or things will eat you. So I was like thinking about this list in the current meta, and I was like, you know what? I think this would give like Battle Company like heart palpitations, because
they gotta kill everything. They can't make it run.
Well, Grav is essentially worthless against it because they're majority 5+ saves.
Yeah.
The Sky Tyrant formation is 6+ saves.
Yeah. It's always frustrating for armies when they're like, God, I gotta use my bolters instead of my expensive Grav guns.
Exactly. And then like the only strength 8 they're gonna have is gonna be like an occasional, maybe like the maximum 4 meltas in one squad. And then you're like, well, once I deal with that, which my entire army does well, that's basically it.
Yeah, and with the new ITC rules, how the objectives have changed to use scoring on your player turn instead of game turn.
Yeah.
Durable armies, especially fearless durable armies, are even more prevalent today and more important today than ever before, because that army is very durable.
And then you make it worse by making everything fast.
Oh yeah.
The minimum movement for the core bad things in this is 12 inches, which is just like, shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, like this army, I was thinking about this. I was like, I really want to play this army. This army sounds super fun. So yeah, that's the army, man.
What's the name of it?
I'm actually going to give you the go on this one. I couldn't come up with the good ones. I was thinking like claws and teeth, but it doesn't really do it justice.
Trying to think of a pun for string theory.
You just call it string theory?
Just call it string theory and just confuse someone so bad. They're just like, so what's your army? Oh, it's the string theory army. The string theory army? Yeah. Is that Tau? What is that? Oh, it's just a bunch of Tyranids.
Oh, and that's the better part about going against somebody like Space Marines and stuff as well, is that it has a Void Shield and they're all in it, which means that it's just like, I hope your Melta shots take out Void Shield first.
Yeah, and you don't want to put too many things close to Tyranids, which you will have to at that point.
Oh man, they're just going to be everywhere. They're just everywhere.
So I'm trying to think. I think it's string theory.
String theory.
Which is going to be such a weird name.
Such a weird name.
Oh, string theory.
Maybe
this has nothing to do with string theory.
Maybe it'll make people more interested in it.
Yeah, maybe.
But man, imagine if the new rules, if all Synapse creatures get freaking Eternal Warrior and feel no pain. Oh, God.
Oh, man. We'll see.
Suddenly Strength 8 is just like, oh, no.
Honestly, at this point, we've said ridiculous stuff and then it happens, so I mean, you know what? Maybe. Yeah, at this point, we were like, infiltrate, 1 inch away for Gene Stealers, charge first turn.
If all Synapse creatures, with this army, if all Synapse creatures get Feel No Pain and Eternal Warrior, even just Eternal Warrior, if they get Eternal Warrior back like they had in 4th edition, this army is terrifying.
Oh, yeah. Well, then you can't double out the big old crazy warrior.
You literally have to go wound for wound when each guy is 3 wounds. Like, fuck that.
Yeah, super annoying.
I hope you have mass AP5 that ignores cover and can deal with 27 wounds in one shooting phase.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Wow. All right, guys. Well, that was the string theory list. A very appropriate name. And that was episode 21 of Roll to Seize. We'll be posting a new episode every month and maybe more frequently than that. Let us know what you think. And if you'd like to download more episodes or check out other similar podcasts, head over to partialarc.com. That's ARC with a C. You can email us any questions at rolltoseize@gmail.com or chat with us on dakadaka.com and help us decide the next Brown Library segment. Search for fluffy/underrated units in the 40K general discussion forums. Of course, you can always follow us on Twitter and Instagram for tournament and model picks at partialarc. Thanks for listening, and your fun fact for this month is...
oddly enough, Tyranids actually have full-on reincarnation.
What?
Because, like, when, like, Swarmlord dies, his consciousness just gets sucked back into the hive mind and reborn again. Like, he never actually really dies.
What? That's pretty cool.
They are true immortals.
Have you heard about the Tyranid religion?
Yeah. Have you heard of the cult of the Gene Stealer?
That book is made of teeth.